Welcome back to Acadiana's Morning News. It is Wingin It Wednesday.
Yes.
And we welcome Carol Ross and Warren Cottle into the station this morning. So, President Obama, he's been all over the world. He even made some time for Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah, that was
CNN host. But it is what he did in relation to the weapons ban that had been in place for quite a while that has a lot of people talking. Was it the right thing to do? Should it have happened now? Carol, ladies first today. We'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay, well, I've been frolicking in New York City, so I haven't really kept up with this too much, but I haven't heard any mention of MIAs and POWs. Has anybody else? No. Did we get anything for this deal? No. We're giving them arms, and do we think that if push came to shove, they wouldn't automatically revert to their communist sponsors in mainland China? No, we don't think that they would come to our side. Although they are trying to be more capitalist, they want more tourism. That is true. So does China. China wants to be more capitalist, yes. But at their underpinning, their foundation, they are communists, and we should never forget that fact. I haven't heard a word about MIAs, POWs. I know that Warren knows a lot more about that particular thing. I'd like to hear more about that. Were there some side deals or back deals that were negotiated? Do we have any idea what we're going to get out of it, except we think their help if push came to shove against China, which is rapidly expanding its power. China wants to be the hegemonist power in the Pacific, and they are building up all those islands and everything. And if we think that Vietnam is going to be a reliable ally against their longtime mentors, China, I think we're a little bit naive, but hasn't that been the hallmark of this president's foreign policy? Naivete mixed with stupidity? I'll leave it at that.
Warren.
You know, well, there's a couple of things. I do agree with what Carol's saying is what are we getting out of it and why are we doing it now? But why are we doing it now? I think that it really, I don't know if any forethought went into it or not, but I think there's some underlying things there. I do disagree with the deal about their relationship with China. Vietnam has had an intense hatred for the Chinese for centuries, and one of the things they actually went to war with them on the border after the Vietnam War and such stuff. The only reason I think that they took weapons and such stuff from the Chinese during the Vietnam War is simply because they were giving them to them for free, just like it was from the Soviet Union. A friend of mine went back to Vietnam a few years ago, and he was asking them, the Russians came in after we left, not huge military, but several of them. And he said, what did y'all think of the Russians? Blah, blah, blah. One of them said, we call the Russians Americans without money.
Wow.
And, I do think that we have this threat with China building up. And I said threat. I use that term loosely. And that is this something about the Vietnamese saying we need to have a stronger military base, whatever, blah, 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 so will you help us? Reagan's philosophy was you arm everybody, sell everybody arms, arm them to the teeth, and that way they'll be afraid to jump on each other. I don't know. But as far as the MIA POW situation, that is something that is a despicable thing. It's still going on. And right at the very heart of it is one Senator John Sidney McCain from Arizona. There's a great 12-minute documentary on there that says that he single-handedly, as a U.S. Senator, kept all of that documentation classified for like the next 25 years or something. And most of them are saying he did it because if it becomes freedom under Freedom of Information Act and all that, then his activities as a POW is going to come out. And in that documentary, there are 2 or 3 people in there who served with him in Hanoi and at the Hanoi Hilton about his collaboration with the enemy and such stuff. Is that they despise the man, and they're saying that's the only reason that he kept that secret, and that just kept it away from all these thousands of families out there who are wondering about whatever happened to their loved ones and such stuff. And can you get any information on it? And that is a despicable act. But we're no longer enemies with Vietnam, selling them stuff. There was somebody put up some pictures sent an email out with pictures of what is today Ho Chi Minh City. It's got interstate highways, glass and steel buildings, skyscrapers, and all over the place. Mm-hmm. I put a thing on there. I said, do you think there would be any difference if the United States had prevailed in their efforts and Saigon would look that way today as it does? Or would it be a continuation of what it was under the French, and they wouldn't have gained anywhere near what they did. And I think that they have gained by leaps and bounds because simply they got their independence and they're free to set their own course, that's it.
All right. Kind of keeping it at the national level, some controversial comments. We have talked for, months and months. I mean, even years really, about the VA wait times and how, a lot of these protections put in place and services put in place for our veterans really are failing them. Now we have the VA secretary that called the lines to get service or to be seen at a VA hospital, likening them to Disneyland. We will talk to our Wingin It Wednesday panelists coming up after this. 7:26, and we're back with our Wingin It Wednesday panelists, the VA secretary under fire. After, when talking to reporters, he sort of compared the lines to the lines at Disneyland. Now, here's the background. He said that when you go to Disneyland, you don't talk about how many hours you spent in line. You talk about how much fun you had at the park. So, is he asking veterans to play down the amount of time they wait and just talk about their service? Because from what we've heard from veterans, that's not much better either. We'll start with Warren on this topic.
I will have to say that as a client of VA health care, that I've been rather happy with the health care that I got there. And the lines have been relatively short. The waiting times have been relatively short. And, now I've never been in the VA hospital per se. However, with all of that being said, I think what we need to do is just basically scrap the whole system. And I think what they should do is go back to what Alan Simpson said one time, who was what I think is one of the most common sense senators that ever served from Wyoming. He said anybody who ever served in a war zone in the military should be covered for free health care for the rest of your life because you have no earthly idea what they were exposed to and this, that, and other. And I think what you should do is just simply give them all a card, like a Medicare card, go wherever you want to, and get whatever services you need, and the government pays for it. End of story. That the VA system, they got some wonderful facilities. Some of them were even overbuilt. You got some hospitals at different places that, as I understand, have hardly ever had a customer in there. And, the bureaucracy is huge. I do know that my doctor at the VA told me one time that those people, by God, get a bonus for turning you down for services and such stuff as that. I mean, it's really sad. It's the things that goes on inside that bureaucracy.
All right, Carol.
It's just like any other self-perpetuating. I'll tell you the truth. He brings up he lurched into a good point. They should let Disney run the damn VA. They'd do a heck of a lot better job.
And the lines are air conditioned at Disney.
Well, there you go.
And, and you get some entertainment while you're waiting, and just I'm serious. This guy, that I did get to see because they covered it the whole time we were in it was like show after show after show. This guy, what a pinhead to eat. How tone deaf do you have to be to even make that comparison? As though these guys want to be, there getting service, as though they paid money to stand in line to get service. This completely pinheaded. It's terrible. I will echo what Warren said. My husband has taken advantage of some of the VA services, never the hospital, thank goodness, but the services here at the War Memorial Building, which they're trying to replace, which they can't seem to move on that either. They keep getting roadblocks put in their way by this big behemoth administration of the VA. Give the guys a voucher, as Warren kind of said, give them a voucher, let them go anywhere to get the health care that they need. They deserve it, they earned it, and you'd get rid of this bureaucracy, at least a lot of it that is roadblocking a lot of this stuff. And then you hear the stories about, well, they were given an increase, by Congress, and what did they do? Well, they refurbished their offices and spent a lot of money on office furniture and prettying up the administrative offices, and the guys didn't get the service anyway. So I said, run it like a voucher system, give them the voucher, let them go anywhere they want to get the service. And by the way, Disney could do a hell of a lot better job than what they're doing right now.
Warren?
she brings up a point about refurbishing the offices. Every time I hear that, I go back to the election with Mike Foster, and Dr. Dan Kyle was running for governor, and it came out that when he was legislative auditor or something, that he refurnished some offices to the tune, I think it was $40,000 or something. So Foster said that was all spent on Kyle's one office himself, and so Foster called him Old Man Kyle, the furniture man. Dan Kyle's a great guy, I will say that. I like him, but every time I hear anybody talking about refurnishing offices, that's the only thing I can think of.
All right, if you want to get in on the conversation, 232-1542, 232-1542, as we talk about the issues that are making headlines, and we've got more to come on Wingin It Wednesday.
Hey, Bernie's going to have the next topic. State police, will they be patrolling in New Iberia? Well, if the mayor has any say so, yes, they will be. We'll get the opinions of our Wingin It Wednesday panel, 7:31 on a big Wednesday. Thanks for waking up with us. 7:35 at KPEL. Welcome back to Wingin It Wednesday, brought to you by our friends over at Service Chevrolet Cadillac. You know, Bernie, it's what my dreams are made of. Every time I pass over there, I got a glance. I love that they put those cars close to the road as you pass by.
I know.
Then you could dream about it until you get on I-10.
There you go. It's a beautiful thing.
Makes you deal with that traffic over there. Go see them over there. Super nice people and the biggest selection in the state. Oh, and I didn't even realize, we're standing next to the mascot now. You know Carol Ross. Carol Ross talks about him all the time on KPEL, which I love.
You heard her.
Anyway, a pretty controversial...
Now, let me tell you something about those folks.
Yes.
I've been working with them for years. I'm just their voice right now, but years and years ago, we've done campaigns for them and worked with them when Mr. Jesse Sr. ran the place, and I'm telling you, it hasn't changed one bit. The service after the sale is just incredible, and these people really, really do an excellent job.
Hey, look, it's all in the name Service Chevrolet Cadillac and Ambassador. You couldn't stop by and see them. So a rather controversial request this week by the mayor of New Iberia, and we've been talking about this for a couple days.
Absolutely. So New Iberia Mayor Hilda Curry saying that, hey, state police, would you mind coming in and helping patrol in the city of New Iberia? Would you help out with law enforcement? So Iberia Parish Sheriff Louis Ackle, of course, the Iberia Sheriff's Office contracted for law enforcement in the city of New Iberia. That in itself, when that happened years ago, was very controversial. But he said, look, sometimes we even work accidents for state police. There's no rampant crime here in the city. Councilman Shudu Lewis saying in an interview that he did with Channel 3, basically there are issues and crime is happening. So we wanted to know what you thought about it and give us your thoughts in general. State police is going to do it because when requested to do so by any community, they do go in and help. Carol, you want to start us on this one?
Well, they did it in the quarter for years until, I think that they had some budgetary issues and they had to dial that back. But this has been an ongoing battle, I think, since they had their little consolidation over in New Iberia. And there's been a problem because they did consolidate their law enforcement, and it's been a problem ever since there. But listen, anytime you can have a story with Shudu Lewis in it, I'm there. I'm okay with that. And I just love that name. I really do, Shudu Lewis. And so it makes me happy when I read it. But I do think there is a problem, and I don't think she would have invaded the state police. I mean, that's a major step for a mayor to do that, to admit that there's a serious problem here. There has been tension on both sides going back to the previous sheriff as well. So this is nothing new. I would like to see the real statistics, though, not what he said, she said. What are the real statistics about crime in New Iberia? And just anecdotally, I would have to say probably the facts are on her side, that there is an increase in crime. And I think a lot of people have tracked it since Hurricane Katrina. Some people have said that. I don't know if that's true. I have no idea what the statistics are, but I think people need to drill down in that and see exactly what's going on in New Iberia. And I wish them the best. I mean, it's terrible for a community to face that kind of crime.
Warren.
Well, this is one of those kind of things where you draw the lines between the state services and city services and county services and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm not really familiar with what all happened in New Iberia. I do know that they did, the sheriff's department did take over the patrolling and whatever of the city. Well, I don't even think they have city police over there anymore, do they?
Mm-mm.
And
nope.
I do know that in the French Quarter, I think that the city or the whatever you call it over in Orleans Parish, they pay for those state troopers, I believe, to patrol the French Quarter. I'm not sure, but
I think that was in the last round because I know there is still a presence there in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a big discussion about that, about the budget issue. Yeah.
I mean, and I do agree with what the sheriff said about, helping out with accidents and whatever. Just yesterday, I saw an accident out around Carencro out there where there was one state trooper and there was like 2 sheriff's cars there. And
he said he's been doing that in Iberia Parish all along on state highways.
Now, with this being said, with the problems and the controversy going on over there with the sheriff in Iberia Parish, I ran into an African-American lady from New Iberia not too long ago, and I asked her something about those problems. And she seemed to be pretty politically connected or whatever. And she said, well, I'm going to say this. She said, I don't approve of what happened over there at the jail, but I will have to say that I do approve of what he did in the city of New Iberia by cleaning up parts of that town. And said he did that. And so
you never know how much is political and how much is real.
That is true, And there again, I don't know where that dividing line is how much of the state police are supposed to be doing in there and what they're not supposed to be doing. I seriously doubt they're going to be sitting there catching people running stop signs and red lights and all. Maybe they are. I don't know.
So when you hear people talking about the consolidation of Lafayette City and Parish, and they see this comparison where they actually did consolidate law enforcement, and they're having problems over there, whether it's personality clashes or politics or for real crime increase. There are problems when you try to consolidate 2 totally different forms of government, and we're still having problems here, and we haven't resolved our problems here. So I'd like to see more study in Lafayette Parish. Now, we have commissions constantly recommending new taxes, but until you fix the structure of our government, no amount of new taxes. When I hear people say we want 5 different drainage districts that people can vote on, this parish is one of the smallest, if not the smallest geographically in the state of Louisiana. The water has no idea where the drainage district begins and ends. Yeah. And if you don't solve it, in fact, you'd have to go into some of the outlying parishes to really solve our drainage problems. So,
yeah. Warren, and by the way, if you want to talk on the show, it's 232-1542, 232-1542. Just remember to be patient because we don't want to interrupt our panelists. Warren?
Yeah, you start talking about drainage. That there was this black guy that ran for city council one time years ago, 15, 20 years ago or something. And I was at one of those forums, and they were talking about drainage. And he said, look, Lafayette drainage problems is not in Lafayette Parish, it's in Vermilion Parish. Wherever you got the most restriction is where that water starts backing up. And a great deal is out there where I live, there's a coulee out there. Mm-hmm. That coulee overflows because the bayou it goes into overflows and backs the water up into the coulee. Mm-hmm. Well, the Lafayette Consolidated Government comes out there and wants to dredge out the coulee, the ditch. It's never the problem. The thing drains perfectly. But when it comes down to it, but we got money. They have money to spend and want to go out there and just basically waste the money when it's not going to do one iota of good.
Let's go to the phones, 232-1542. Good morning, you're on with Wingin It Wednesday.
Good morning, Rob. I actually live in New Iberia, so I can tell you a lot that's going on. I personally have been a victim. I had my car stolen right out of my driveway with me at home.
Oh, my God.
They've done nothing for it other than finding the car that's hit. There's enough crime going on across the fence from my house. No telling what. You hardly ever see anybody over there. So Mayor Hilda Curry was correct when she asked the state police to help patrol.
All right, thank you for your comment.
That's good to know.
We'll take another call here, 232-1542. Good morning, you're on Wingin It Wednesday.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment about the drainage area and money that's going into drainage, if possible.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I live in Carencro, and every time it rains, I don't live inside, I live in the parish of Carencro, And there's a coulee out there. It'd be a miracle if Lafayette Parish ever came out there to clean that up.
Okay.
Because they just don't. People move from Lafayette out into the country, and they throw their trash in the ditch, and it's just unbelievable when we get all this rain. And the parish they're busy coming out and looking at it, but that's all they do is look. They don't do anything else.
All right.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your
comment.
comment.
What? You need to call your council member.
Yeah, and you know what? We weren't looking for a third Wingin It Wednesday panelist, but man, you were
she's fired up.
You were
Man.
it.
Yeah, definitely.
Call your councilwoman. That's why you have,
Council people.
You have someone to represent you, especially
But
with these
at
sorts
the same
of issues.
time, if there's no money,
Then what are
what's the
they gonna
council
do?
person going to do for you, too? I mean, that's
Well,
another issue.
most of the coulees inside the city of Lafayette are concreted.
Yeah.
But most of the ones outside are not.
Not.
So the water.
All right, let's go back to the phones. 232-1542. Good morning. You're on Wingin It Wednesday.
Yes, my comment is that I like what you said about draining the ditches and then the bayous are backing up. Is there any talk about, and maybe I missed it because I just joined the conversation about 2 minutes ago, about the Vermilion being dredged or somewhere, about that? I mean, that thing I know is silted in really bad.
Oh, it is silted in terribly.
Thank you for calling. Yeah, I know we were talking about Vermilion Parish specifically, not the Vermilion River.
But isn't that always been part of the discussion
Well,
for
yes.
Lafayette?
Well, I don't know, but it has to be the problems. I mean, if you look in other parts of the country, it's what they have done is gone in there and basically straightened out a lot of those little old crooked rivers and such stuff, and it was a big controversy. It was the Mississippi River. It's why that every once in a while, well, you go up the Mississippi River, and each state will have state boundaries on the opposite side of the river. And it's the same way in a lot of those smaller areas where you got those little crooked rivers, and they'd go through there and straighten them out so they would drain more. And every now and then they would go in there and they would pass some kind of a law where that they would swap property, where one county would have their property line would be on this side. But the point is that yes, it's kind of like a clogged artery in your body. Is that every once in a while you need to go in there and clean that
Do
out.
the roto-rooter?
Yeah, because you've
I
got
think
everything running into it. And that and it's just a simple matter of physics that wherever you got the most restriction is where it's going to control how much flows out.
I know they did dredge many, many, many decades ago because if you build on the river, which we did at one point, you have to build up the soil. You cannot build on the soil as is. You have to bring in solid dirt, because a lot of it they say is what they call a gumbo. It's not really, you can't build on that kind of soil.
Not solid.
Okay, well, we have obviously struck a nerve with
Yeah,
the KPEL
the phones
listeners.
are-
We'll go back to the phones. Good morning, KPEL. Good morning. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. About the presence of state trooper in New Iberia, the mayor feel that it is necessary. Maybe she has some statistics she looked at, and the crime is up. Certainly, there are presence of state troopers in the French waters, as Warren alluded to, not on a large scale as New Iberia, but they have their problems too. Much more a problem in the French Quarter. But if she has the money in her budget, so be it. Thank you for taking my call.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Good point.
Okay, good point. If the money's there, spend the money.
Yeah.
All right, just don't dredge out meaningless drainage routes. Just don't do that. Warren will get you on that one. This is our final call. We'll take a break. Good morning, KPEL.
Good morning. I have a comment about the comment that there's no money when it comes to doing work in the non-incorporated areas. The reason that they don't have any money is that any time a revenue source pops up, the city swoop in and grab the property and the revenue that goes with it.
That's correct.
It's really a fallacy that the parish doesn't have money. The fact is the city steal their money by incorporating. So, I mean, the whole argument just doesn't make sense, doesn't hold water.
Okay.
Well, the city doesn't just take people in. The people have to request. They have to go through a petition process, and it requires a certain number of people and, electors and property owners, etc. They usually request coming in. The city can't just annex.
Well, I think he's talking though about the big areas where there's like a big. Remember when there was Sam's? When Sam's first was built over by I-10?
Oh, I know. I mean, and those businesses want to be in a city where there are better services. They don't want to be stuck out in the parish where they don't have the kind of services.
Exactly, because then you don't get anything good.
The man brings up an excellent point, and we need to have that. We need to have a full discussion. We need to have a full discussion on that one day.
Okay.
But it's not about where the cities are located. Yes, all the cities are located within the parish. It's about the money. And the money is still separate, no matter what anybody says. They have never, look, the parish has its source of funding and the cities have their source of funding. And never the twain shall meet as long as we have this goofy form of government that we have right now that's not really working for anybody.
All right, Wingin It Wednesday continues. We have one more topic, but I'm going to let the calls during the break. We might stay on this one because this one is a biggie. 7:50 now at KPEL.
Are we off the air?
Let's double check what's happening in traffic right now. All right, Vero School Road at Vincent Road. That's the only hot spot. Vero School Road at Vincent. Make sure you buckle up.
All right, 7:52. Just a little bit of extra Charlie Daniels to kick off your Wednesday morning. There's never too much Charlie. Okay.
Yeah.
There was something that Charlie Daniels did a couple days ago. Was he?
He played at the one of the casinos. Yes, I'm pretty sure.
But he was in the news for something. I want to say he's something with the NRA. I think he spoke to the NRA.
You haven't seen his commercial?
I haven't seen it yet. But I know I saw something.
I didn't see it either.
My goodness.
We'll have to get to that in
and
a break.
He mentions Cajun, the men who wrestle live gators. You think you're going to get them? You're going to get those Texas Cowboys? You're not taking anything. I mean,
you're not doing that.
Amazing.
Wow.
If you terrorists think
definitely check that out.
If you think you're going to take your guns away.
All right, so another thing that really has people lit up, and even Bernie and I sometimes we'll begin our debates off air, so we kind of see where they go, because it's how boring radio would it be if we both always agree on everything. Well, so this is one situation that we are on pretty much opposite sides of the spectrum, and this is the high school valedictorian from down the road, down I-10 in Amite, who had a goatee when it came time for graduation day.
Yeah.
That is against dress code standards.
Yeah.
And he was not allowed to walk at his graduation. So now there are calls for the superintendent of Tangipahoa schools to step down because this was a race thing and everything. One thing we did agree on, that this isn't a race thing.
Yeah, we agree it's both not a race. It's not a race thing. At least in my mind, it's not.
However, on the goatee thing, you thought, common sense should prevail.
Dude, common sense should prevail.
You haven't been able to have facial hair for 4 years. Why did you try for graduation? We're going to see where you guys stand.
All right.
If you have comments, 232-1542, 232-1542. Carol, we'll start this one with you.
Well, first of all, you need to read all of the stories. It's another he said. The superintendent says on 3 different occasions. Well, first of all, they sent out to everybody exactly what the requirements are for graduation. You will be clean shaven. The girls will wear a certain kind of shoes. The whole bit. Then they apparently, because this kid is valid, he had a sterling record, a 4.0 average, and he was a star athlete, and he's got scholarship to, well, there were 2 different stories. One said Southern, one said Southeastern. So I'm not sure where but he's got scholarships, right? So he's, by all accounts, a good kid. They had several conversations with his mother and his aunt were on the line at one point. The superintendent says he was warned on 3 different occasions that he had to shave. When they got there, and when they actually got there for the ceremony, there were 13 kids who were not in compliance, had some facial hair.
Right.
12 of them shaved. This kid would not.
Oh, so they gave them the opportunity there.
Yeah. And he did trim it back, but he wouldn't take it off completely. So, that kind of adds a little dimension to it. He made a choice. The facial hair was more important to him than graduating with his classmates. That's the choice he made. The school system should not be. If that is exactly what happened, if those accounts are correct, and he was warned on multiple occasions, and he still refused, even after he was given an opportunity to take it off right there, the day of the graduation, then he made the choice.
All right, we have about 2 minutes left. Warren, your thoughts?
It comes down to what is the real truth of this matter. I don't know. One of the first thing I'm going to say is the rules are rules. You violate the rules, you pay the consequences. Secondly, What I understand is, in all situations of rules, laws, or whatever, if they are flagrantly violated over and over and over, and nobody enforces that violation, then basically the law becomes null and void.
See, that's what
and
I
this
wonder.
is what I understand about this deal that I heard yesterday from that afternoon talk show of those two gentlemen, the very liberal gentlemen that are on here in the afternoon.
Go, Indiana.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it was. And they said that this guy had his goatee all through senior year. He played football with it. So basically, in my estimation, then, if they didn't do anything about it all year, then that rule became null and void. Secondly, I'm going to tell this kid is that if you're the valedictorian and you did take decent courses in school, something like a little bit of math, a little bit of English, and a little bit of science,
not too many shop classes.
You have a great future in front of you. It doesn't make two hoots in hell whether you stand up there and give your little valedictorian speech, because let me tell you something, there's not one person walking the face of this earth going to remember anything you said 30 minutes after you said it.
And that's
go
so
on
true.
to college, do your life thing. If you want to change the system, go out there and then work to change whatever system you want to change. But graduating from high school, walking across the stage,
That's why
I don't
said
even know if it
sense.
involved a speech. They didn't say anything about he was going to give a speech.
Well, usually I've been to Tangible Hill graduations before. They're all at Southeastern, and they all do that. The head of the class, the president, the valedictorian usually give speeches. But I don't think this was his concern. I think it was. I just feel like this whole thing was a rebel with a cause, and the cause was the goatee.
My thing is, why didn't common sense on both sides prevail? Why didn't
Bernie,
the kids
stop making
the kids?
sense?
Bernie, live in a real world.
In the words of David Byrne and the Talking Heads, stop making sense.
Well, we see that you guys have lit up the phone calls. We will take some in the break. I don't think this is near the end of this conversation. Thanks for joining us. Wingin It Wednesday, brought to you by Service Chevrolet Cadillac.
Go Cajuns.